Meeting of the Rio Dell City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Barnes.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carter. Here. Councilmember Orr.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Woodall. Here.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There is nothing to report out of closed session. Now we will go on to public presentations. This is the time for persons who wish to address the council and over which address the council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not allowed under the Ralph M. Brown Act. Items requiring council action not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda for consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Anything? Nothing? How you see now? Any hands raised? Then we will close public presentations and move to the consent calendar. Is there any item on the consent calendar that needs to be pulled?
I'd like to pull 2.
Okay, item 2. And okay, I'm gonna pull item 4 just so I can make a comment. So is there anyone else that wanted? Then I will ask for a motion to approve items 1, 3, and 5.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 2, approve the training MOU between the City of Rio Dell Police Department and the City of Fortuna Police Department.
I just wanted to say, since it was just on this consent, I think it's such a great idea. I think it'll benefit our county and we're doing it really like that. I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, well, thank you. And so is there a motion to approve?
I so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion carries for 5-0. And I just wanted to comment on the AB 262, which is a new bill that's going soon to be to committee, hopefully, on the California Individual Assistance Program, which will act, but it's so that in case of emergency and small rural disadvantaged cities cannot meet the FEMA threshold, that the state develop a program that allows the state then to help individuals, not just public, not just like public entities, but to actually be able to help individuals. And so it's a really important bill. It's really based on Rio Dell. That was the impetus for this bill, is the earthquake here in Rio Dell. And so I just wanted to thank Cindy Silva. I wanted to thank Cal Cities and everyone, and Assemblywoman. I can spell it. Caloza. Yes, Assembly Member Caloza, for bringing this bill forward. It really will make such a difference if it gets all the way through. That's all. I just wanted to say that, and I move for that to be approved. Second, motion and second. Motion carries 5-0. Now we'll close the consent calendar and move on to City Manager Staff Update, page 32 in our packets. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Barnes, members of the council. I want to just thank the police department for their work today on First Avenue doing an abatement, particularly nasty one. but an important one for the city to do, and I want to thank Chief Penny for his work on that. It just also mentioned for Sunshine Kelly, we had obviously some strange weather over the past few days, but the city weathered it very well, and the wastewater system weathered it very well. So we're excited. Comparative to what the level of rain, the intensity of the rain. And so that's a testament to the work of the Public Works Department. So thank you. And then also on your desk should be handed out, just make it into the packet, but the police department's update is also on your desk, things like that. And with that, staff is happy to answer any questions the council may have. Just one more thing, we also have a nuisance advisory committee coming up tomorrow at 3 p.m. here at City Hall. With that, I'll read it on. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions, but I will, as usual, point out animal control. 0 dogs and 0 cats transported to Miranda's. That is huge. We're doing something. So I'm obviously very happy to see that. And as always, thank you to city staff for everything that you do and the work you put into making our community as wonderful as it is. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Orr?
Nothing.
Councilmember Wilson?
No.
Councilmember Woodall?
Yeah, I wanted to thank Chief also and Mary. That was a huge job and I really appreciated getting done. How did you figure out it was going to be sunshine today? Or
Just luck of the draw.
just like, but thank you guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I thank staff for just being staff and being excellent, and we are very fortunate to have you all. Thank you. And I think that closes the section of. Now, let's move to. Did you have anything that you wanted to ask about the city staff report?
No.
Okay, thank you. No emails. 2 special presentations. 2025/0318.09 presentation by JJA CPA Incorporated on the city's audited financial statements, page 35 in our packets.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes and members of the council. I'll go ahead and turn this over to our finance director.
Thank you, Manager. Good evening, Mayor Garnes, members of the City Council. Each year, an independent auditing firm audits and prepares financial statements for the City of Rio Dell in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Those standards require that an audit be performed to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. The auditing firm JJA CPA Inc. will present the Council the fiscal year 2023-24 audited financial statements and accompanying information. I'd like to welcome Brett Jones, our city auditor.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for having me here tonight. As Travis mentioned, we conducted our audit for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024, and have issued an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion that we can give. So it's really great news. And you'll find our opinion on the first page of the financial statements, where it states, in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the respective financial position of the city. As Travis mentioned, our responsibilities are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. And reasonable assurance is a high-level assurance, but is not absolute. In performing an audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism. So that is to say, we are independent of the city. We don't perform any management functions or make any management decisions. Additionally, we identify and assess the risk of misstatement and perform procedures to address those risks. Our procedures typically consist of tests of transactions and balances in the financial statements. Additionally, we obtain an understanding of the internal controls of the city and report on any findings that we may have. And we're pleased to report that we don't have any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that we need to inform the council about. So that's really great. We also evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies used by the city. And additionally, we conclude if there are any conditions that raise substantial doubt about the city's ability to continue as a going concern. That is, making sure the city is not heading towards bankruptcy or anything like that. So that's kind of what we look at as part of the audit. And then just to briefly go over the format of the financial statements themselves. After our audit report is the management's discussion and analysis section. The purpose of this section is to provide analysis of the governmental activities of the city in a narrative format. This section is prepared by management of the city and is a great resource to look at to just kind of get your bearings of the city's finances. Following the MD&A are the financial statements themselves, starting with the government-wide financial statements on page 21 and the statement of activities on page 22. These set of financials are full accrual and prepared with an economic resources measurement focus. And then there are also the fund financial statements, starting with the balance sheet on page 26. Those statements are prepared under a modified accrual basis with a current resources measurement focus. After the financial statements are the notes. They provide additional information about the city's policies and financial disclosures. And then at the very back of the report, we have our report on internal controls. So if we had any findings or any reportable items in the city's internal controls, they would be in this report at the very end. And as I mentioned, there's nothing there. Finally, in addition to the financial statements, we do issue our communications to those charged with governance. That is a letter that we issue to the council. It provides additional information on the audit, and it highlights management's responsibilities. If there were any uncorrected or corrected misstatements that we had to make as part of the audit, it would be detailed in that letter. And then any other findings or issues we had with the audit would be in that letter. And as I mentioned, the letter's pretty short and to the point. That's because everything went really well this year, as we've kind of come to expect working with the city. Travis and his staff does a great job of getting us everything we need to do our jobs without any real issues. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have on the audit.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight, and thanks for doing a great job. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you, Travis. Absolutely. Councilmember Woodall, any questions?
No questions, but thank you, Travis. When I first started here, the audits, it was awful. So even though we had a good audit for a lot of years, it always makes me happy again where things turn out great. Thank you so much for all your work. Of course.
I'll reiterate the thank yous and say that I wasn't here when the audits were bad, but every time I go to a read meeting and say we had a good audit, the people who've been there a while go, oh my God, thank goodness. So thank you for everybody who contributes to that.
Councilman Wilson?
Oh, nothing other than to say thank you to the staff and Travis and the rest of the staff and to the agency. Good job.
So, look, it seems like you're off the hook. Any questions, Albert? Any hands raised or emails? Then I think we can bring this to a close with a thank you to everyone. Thank you to the front office staff and the financial staff and every staff. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Brett.
Take care, Brett. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Now we will move on to fiscal year 2025 mid-year financial report. Is that wrong? That's 2024. It's supposed to be 25, it's January.
24, 25. Yeah.
Page 151 in our packets. City managers?
Thank you, Mayor Garn. So while we get this PowerPoint up, I'll just reiterate our thanks to Mr. Sanborn and also our finance department. We have a tremendous finance department, does a fantastic job. really always look forward to these reports. These are important reports. They're boring reports for the public, but these are really fundamental to get your audit reports, to get your mid-year financials, your quarterly reports, just to gauge kind of where the city is at, periodically touching and based on, factual information. So again, thank you for everybody's attention on these matters, and I will go ahead and turn it over to Travis Sanborn, our finance director.
Thank you, City Manager. And just to reiterate that point, the audit process is really about a 3-month long process to complete, and it really does take the entire city staff, all hands on deck to get all the documentation and everything that's required. So a big thanks to the finance department and everyone involved to get us to a point where we feel very comfortable year after year to provide a good, clean audit for the city of Rio Dell. So good evening again, Mayor Garnes and members of the City Council. Tonight, I'm presenting the mid-year financial report for fiscal year 2024-2025, providing an overview of the city's financial performance as of December 31st, 2024. This report summarizes revenues and expenditures for the first half of the fiscal year, highlighting key variances from the adjusted budget, and offers insight into financial trends that may impact the city in the coming years. It is important to note that this analysis is based on unaudited financials. The city's finances are managed through 3 primary fund types: the general fund, which serves as the city's main operating fund; the enterprise funds, which include water and sewer services and are designed to be self-sustaining; and the special revenue funds, which are designated for specific uses such as streets and grant-funded projects. At the mid-year point, the city's expenditures exceeded revenues by approximately $800,000. This shortfall is primarily due to the timing of revenue receipts from other governmental agencies, as well as pending reimbursements for grant-funded projects, including things like the Eel River Trail Project and the Water Distribution System Capital Improvement Project. When focusing on the general fund specifically, expenditures exceeded revenues by approximately $152,000, largely because property tax and vehicle license fee revenues from the County of Humboldt are received later in the fiscal year. A review of departmental spending shows that most departments are operating within budget expectations. As of December 31st, the city has spent 45% of its total operating budget. The majority of the departments remained at or below 50% of their budgeted expenditures at the mid-year mark, which indicates a balanced approach to spending. You can move one more slide. Looking at the city's revenue performance, general fund revenues stood at 22% of the budgeted amount by mid-year, compared to 29% at the same time last year. The primary reason for this decline is the delayed receipt of property tax and in lieu of vehicle license fee revenues, which are traditionally received, as mentioned earlier, in the second half of the fiscal year. Cannabis tax revenues reached 28% of the budget at mid-year, which was slightly lower than anticipated. However, this is largely due to Ordinance 397-2023, which provides cultivators in the Dinsmore Plateau Zone options to make a one-time tax payment on March 15th of the following year, instead of quarterly payments throughout the fiscal year as previously done. The street fund received 41% of its budgeted revenues at mid-year, while actual expenditures for street-related projects were at 40%. The city has not expended any streets fund for budgeted capital projects approved for the current fiscal year. The sewer enterprise fund performed well, with revenues reaching 63% of budget, while expenditures stood at 44%. A significant increase in the sewer capital revenues, as displayed, was driven by long-awaited reimbursements from Cal OES for earthquake-related infrastructure damage. The city's $6.6 million wastewater treatment loan with the California Water Board remains on schedule for full payment by 2043. Similarly, the water enterprise funds received 56% of its budgeted revenues by the mid-year, with 41% of its budgeted expenditures recorded. The city's $2.7 million water plant loan with the California State Water Board is expected to be fully repaid in 2029, so just a few short years away. While the city's budget remains on track overall, Several key challenges may impact future financial planning. The Master Earthquake Recovery Project list currently has an estimated total cost of nearly $36 million. If no additional reimbursements are granted, the city's required 25% cost share match will be just under $9 million, representing a significant fiscal commitment. Another ongoing challenge is the volatility of the cannabis market, which continues to create financial uncertainty for both local governments and industry producers. Although the market has faced recent setbacks, the city remains confident in its long-term viability and its continued impact on the local economy. A third financial consideration is the growing strain on the streets infrastructure funding. Although electric vehicle owners do pay fees intended to offset declining tax revenues, the state's funding formulas remain inadequate to replace those losses. The Legislative Analysis Office projects a $6 billion decline in gas tax revenues over the next decade, which will likely result in reduced state transportation funding for local governments. As a result, the city may need to allocate a greater share of general fund resources to cover street maintenance and improvement projects in the future. In summary, the city's financial position remains stable, with revenues and expenditures largely aligning with budget expectations. However, the outlook highlights key fiscal challenges, including the financial burden of earthquake recovery, shifts in long-term funding sources, and the ongoing unpredictability of the cannabis market. As we move forward, careful financial planning and strategic decision-making will be essential to ensuring the city's continued fiscal health. That concludes my mid-year financial report. Thank you for your time this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Travis. Awesome as usual. You did a great job and
Thanks.
greatly appreciate you and the finance department and everyone who puts in to get to this point. Mayor.
No questions, but it's because of the work of staff that I don't have any questions and I understand it fairly. So you're Jim, thank you.
Councilmember Wilson?
No question.
Councilmember Will? No. Councilmember Orr?
Only one, and that's, is there any estimate as to what we're still awaiting for the earthquake reimbursements or?
Yeah, good question. So at this point, we have received confirmation that all of the work that has been done has been approved by Cal OES. The most recent was water infrastructure work. So the immediate aftermath, all of the work from city staff, the busted water lines, that was a pretty significant cost outlay initially, over $300,000. It took over 2 years grinding through that process to get an approval from the state. And we were really excited and thankful to the state for working with us just to make sure everything was documented correctly, everything is being reimbursed properly. So we're awaiting the check for that, but we have got approval. And at this point now, it's going after all the projects that have been identified, but not yet been worked on. So it'll be, working with state officials to go over financing plans. A lot of these projects supersede the entire city budget. So finding creative ways to work with the state and other agencies to accomplish and tackle, some of those most needed projects really as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
If I could add something to that. Part of our project coming up with Mullen and the water CIP is going to knock some of those items off of the list, the highway crossings and whatnot. At no cost to the city or even CDAA, the California Disaster Assistance Act. So there are some those items are going to be knocked off the list here hopefully soon.
Thank you. Are there any questions from you, Al? Are there any hands raised, any emails? Then we'll go and say thank you once again, close that item and move on to discussion, council report and communications. I think I skipped right now. And let's go to the Mayor
I'm
Hotel.
ready. So the St. Patrick's Day party that the chamber threw last night was really fun. I would like to thank Al for serenading us for a solid outfit you did, right? Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that. There's a blood drive this Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. over here at the Resource Center, same place it was last time in that empty lot. If you donate blood, you get lunch, and it's more than just hot dogs. This time you get burgers, chips, a drink. As well, just go do it. It's this Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And let's see, update on the voucher assistance program. The word is spreading. In the last 2 weeks, I've handed out myself, but only 4 cat vouchers and 2 dog vouchers. So people are finally starting to hear about it and use the program, and I'm very happy about that. I attended the school board meeting last Thursday. Nothing really to report, though. They're still in the process of forming the 7-Eleven committee to decide whether or not that property is indeed surplus and could or should not be considered for sale to the city for a park. It's slow going, but I'm on it. I have a REDA meeting this coming Monday. I don't know what the program is yet. Okay. Last Thursday, March 14th, or Friday, March 14th, I drove down to Willits and attended the League of California Cities Redwood Region meeting, where we heard from CAL FIRE about their fire hazard severity zone maps, which our very astute city manager brought up 2 weeks ago and told us all, we should probably have a look at those, and you weren't wrong. So I'm gonna go ahead and reiterate that you might want to have a look at those, not just as electeds, but as citizens of anywhere you live in California. And I want to clarify that, quote, we are stuck with these maps. There is zero negotiation. When you're deciding what zone you're in, that is it. You cannot bargain, you cannot negotiate. There are options for upgrading your fire risk, but there are no options for downgrading it. And it does not matter if you have CAL FIRE in town, what you do. Lots of talk about clearing defensible space, but how are you supposed to do that in an urban area when your neighbors are close? I mean, there's a lot. Their website for the severity maps is actually pretty intuitive and easy to use if you just Google CAL FIRE hazard fire risk map, whatever. You'll find it.
Yeah.
But I want to highlight that there is no appeals process. There is no negotiation. When you get your ranking, that is your ranking for 5 years.
And that's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
I mean,
Yeah.
the one that Kyle.
That's what you said.
Yeah, I will just add I believe it's the state of Oregon, they recently released similar maps, and local government outcry caused the state to reject their whole mapping process. And so they're going back to the drawing board in that state. So that's one possible solution, but.
So we need to get all the cities in the entire state.
I have a feeling that CAL FIRE is probably presenting at a lot of the Cal Cities meetings right about now. So I would think in the next couple of weeks, every little zone of California should have heard that same presentation and be aware. And there was a lot of questioning and pushback even just in that meeting. The first step, though, is to go look it up. It's not like we're in super duper high risk area, but I think these are there's trickle down from these kinds of decisions. So, and that's all I'll say, but check them out. It's a great time. Yeah.
So you said for 5 years?
They're reassessed every 5
Okay,
years.
so when they're reassessing, can you do input when they're reassessing?
I didn't see a clear, easy way to have input. I don't think they want your input. I think that it is based on math. There's a lot of math. And a hazard is considered, the physical conditions and how they could change in 30 to 50 years. And then your risk is the potential risk under current conditions today. And also on the website is a lot about what formulas they use, how they are modeling this stuff. It has a lot to do with how far the embers could maybe blow. That's a lot. And as far as defensible space, and they always show the same video of the building material stuff, and houses that have cleared adequate defensible space that looks crazy, and you can't do that in an urban or suburban area, so that gets calculated in, but it's an education in there. If you want to go on that website, I do recommend, even if just as a homeowner or a renter anywhere in the state of California, have a look.
So how are we rated? I mean,
We're not super high.
yeah, but we're not, yeah,
No, we're not high risk, but I mean, I lost my homeowner's insurance a year ago because anyway, we're in the weeds, but this applies. You weren't wrong. Everybody else in that meeting was super shocked. And I thought, well, our city manager gave us a heads up. So thank you for being astute and being on top of that. And that is the end of my lengthy member report. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Wilson.
I was just gonna ask, Councilwoman Carter, and I think you answered it, that this isn't greatly affecting us in a negative way to Rio Dell at this point.
I mean, there's so much potential and so much like would be, could be, maybe, we don't know. But I would say as far as like how much are insurance companies using these hazard maps, I mean, it already happens to me personally, you know. I got the letter saying, you're in a fire hazard zone, we're canceling you. So no, we're not rated super duper high as far as like the rest of the state goes, but I would say we're rated maybe a little higher than what I would think just based on the bioregion, but it has everything to do with if the wind is blowing 100 miles an hour, an ember could conceivably
Sure.
get to Rio Dell.
Alaska.
Yeah, from Alaska. Good.
That's it, Councilmember Wilson?
I haven't,
Okay,
no, I, other than I have the regular meetings, but that's.
Councilmember Woodall?
nothing much. I'm going to a CERT meeting tomorrow night. And I also went to the Firemen's Board of Directors meeting, which Amanda went for the beginning, I stayed for the end. And also you mentioned the nuisance abatement committee meeting tomorrow at 3:00 here. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Ward.
HCOG meeting coming up this Thursday, other than that, I have nothing.
Okay, and I have a LabCo meeting tomorrow, Great Redwood Trail on Thursday, and Cal Cities on the 28th of March. And I think that's all. Thank you, Mal, for last night. And
We should have made you get toast here.
I should have given the toast here. But anyway, thank you everybody for everything. If there's nothing else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned until April 1st,
2025.
2025.
Is there really a meeting? We don't know.